Jared,
How's it, how you doing, man?
nice. Looking good.
Are you wearing your Drumeo hat?
No, you know what? I actually thought of doing that, and then now it's way upstairs, and I forgot. Are you wearing a DRUMEO hat?
Yeah, yeah,
No. Oh, it is actually.
yeah. It is. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I don't have that one, so I'll come by tomorrow and pick one up. Okay, Jared. So
Uh,
you've agreed to a little bit of trivia, and
have I?
just kind of yeah, you did.
Okay,
So
okay,
I'm gonna pick 1999 because that was your grade 11, 12 year.
okay.
It's actually an interesting time. So
It is.
here we go. Popular music, 1999.
Okay.
Let's see how many of the top 20 songs or artists you could name. Or do you want me to name the artist and you name the song, or I name the song and you name the artist?
Ooh, that would be a tough one. It's like the start of the
Uh-oh.
pop era. Oh, you're cutting out. You got me?
Yeah, yeah.
The pop era. So like Britney Spears is probably number one.
Britney Spears, number five. Hit
Number
me,
five.
baby, one more time.
It was
Probably your
kind of
favorite song.
it was the tail end of the boy band stuff, but is there NSYNC or Backstreet Boys on it?
Um, Not in the top 20.
No. Was
Um,
Foo Fighters in the top 20?
yep, yep. Foo Fighters, Goo Goo Dolls.
You Google those. You too?
No,
Really?
no. So number one is
Uh
Cher.
oh really? What song?
Believe, believe.
Okay. Well, that's a
No
good song.
Scrubs, TLC. So
I would
this
have
is
never got that.
Monica. Remember they did the duet, her and some Angel, I don't
No.
know. Whitney Houston's up there. Sixpence None the Richer. You know that
Ah,
song?
yep.
Which song would it have been?
Oh, as soon as you sang it, I would know it, but I don't know the name.
Dee, 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 dee. No? Kiss Me. I'm
Kiss me
not
one more
saying that to
time.
you. Yeah, no, I'm not going to kiss you ever again. Regretted it the first time. Genie in a Bottle by
Oh, I'm a genie in the bottle. I don't know.
Christina Aguilera.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
it's all Ricky Martin's in there, Jennifer Lopez, Smash Mouth. Do you know?
Yeah, Smash
Sarah
Mouth.
McLachlan. Okay. Santana. That one you would respect, I think.
Yeah, is that
What about
smooth?
the, yeah.
Yeah.
What about movies? Do you remember grade 11, 12?
Man,
1999, people.
all I was doing is playing drums. So I didn't go see very many movies. Didn't do much in that space.
Okay,
I
here,
could,
I'll name some and you'll be like, oh my goodness, that was that year. Star
okay.
Wars Episode 1,
Yeah,
Phantom Menace.
I've never seen any of them.
What?
None of them. Not
Okay.
into sci-fi.
The Sixth Sense,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Toy
Haley Joel
Story
Osment.
2,
Yeah.
The Matrix came out that year.
Okay,
Like that
yeah,
was
yeah.
mind blowing because that first scene
Yeah.
where she does the thing around, and all that, it was just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Uh, Tarzan, it's a good
Tarzan. The
soundtrack.
kids movie?
Yeah, good soundtrack.
Oh,
Phil Collins.
okay.
Drummer, right? Phil's a
Yeah, Phil
drummer?
Collins.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't drum anymore. His son drums for him, Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Austin Powers.
Classic.
Yeah, but I have no comment on that. Of course, I wouldn't watch
Of
that.
course
Popular
not.
TV. Number one show. I think you would know this.
Seinfeld?
Simpsons.
Simpsons?
Yeah.
Oh,
This is Beverly Hills 90210. Friends. I don't know
yeah.
any of these shows. Dawson's Creek. That was one.
Never really
70s
watched.
show?
Yeah, that's a good show.
No. Okay. So TV's not your thing either. Do you remember who the prime minister was in 1999?
Uh, uh,
I'm
John
asking
Cret.
if you passed socials 11, really.
You
So
you know I was a terrible student. Jean Chrétien?
I don't know that.
Yeah, you do.
Correct.
You
Très bien.
it was
Très
your
bien.
fault. It was your fault. I was a terrible student.
Okay, this is crazy. Now, you know what was released for, you know how you get on the internet today, right?
Yeah.
There was a certain browser released that year.
Netscape?
What was the browser you would have used? Internet
Internet.
Explorer version 5. Version 5.
That's
I guess that's not
wow.
really, but that was released. Um, MySpace was introduced. Did you ever have a
Crazy.
MySpace account?
I did. I did.
Okay. Bluetooth was announced that year. What's this
Wow.
crazy idea? Bluetooth? Okay, the whole world is like, we're like bathing in it every day now. Uh, do you remember Napster?
Oh yeah.
Initial release, 1999.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I never got into pirating music, but that was a big thing.
It was. Do
Yeah.
you remember Y2K? What do you remember as
Yes.
a kid?
I remember them telling me if the world's going to end, everything's going to shut down. The computers don't have enough capacity to roll over.
So planes were going to crash when, for those who weren't around then, like any younger kids, like everyone thought the world was going to end or something, or like
Yeah.
just crazy stuff. The planes would crash because the computers on board wouldn't be able to switch to zero
Yeah.
zero. And so this is an interesting quote. Okay, it was fueled by press coverage and other media speculation. I have no further comment, but I'm just quoting what I read. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, Columbine that year.
Oh no.
Do you remember that? Like as a
Yeah.
student,
Yeah.
hearing about that, and that was just shocker, right, to everyone. So
Yeah.
okay, so shifting to your experience a bit, tell us about high school. And I have here, thanks to our awesome staff at MEI, I have your grad photo. Um, see if you recognize any of these people here. Hold on. It's pretty far away.
Well, it's
Is
hard to
that
see.
okay?
Yeah.
Well,
I can't see. I can't make it out. It's not, it's all blurry. That was a big grad class though.
yeah.
Are they bigger now?
We have, I think, 144 this year. So they're kind of
Okay.
like we're approaching capacity here, like
Yeah.
maxed. So, but what do you remember
Yeah.
about high school?
Well, in grade six, I was, this is before, so let me start before. In grade
Okay.
six, I was the biggest kid in elementary school because I was always big. Grade seven, obviously still the biggest because who else is going to? Grade eight, I was the scrawniest little kid, and I really, really struggled with the transition. Um, I remember not knowing if I had it, having no friends, not knowing where I was going. Grade eight was really, really hard for me. And then grade nine was also, it was better. Um, my parents went and that's when I started playing drums. And my parents went and did my student teacher interviews. And my dad, being like the nice dude that he is, went and just talked to Larry Nickel, I think. And they said, my dad's like, oh, he's playing drums. He's pretty good, you know. And so Larry said, well, come tell him to try out. And so because of that, I just went and saw him. I was terrified. I was freaked out of my mind. And I ended up getting on the jazz band, and that was like completely changed my life.
Hmm.
Because after that, I had like a circle of people that I could relate to. But prior to that, I was kind of lost. Grade eight and nine, and then grade 9, 10, 11, 12, I was like very much into music and that stuff. But I didn't really like the whole like math, science. I never really got any of that. I just remember the teacher teaching it, and I have no clue what they're doing, and I would just let it pass, and then I just wouldn't do the homework. So, so am I allowed to say that on here? Because
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
okay,
Oh.
yeah, but the thing is like I think high school is like a good time to, for me, it was a good time to try a lot of different things, and like, okay, I get to go and study English or home economics or whatever, and then, but I really discovered music, and that's where I think it's so important, right? I discovered music, and in my grade 11 and 12 year, I was completely like saturated in that scene. I did chapel, both chapels. It was like, and I got credits for it or something.
Hmm.
Um, and then I did jazz band, then I did concert band, then I did, you know, everything else. And so,
A Raspberry
yeah,
Jam at that time was amazing, correct?
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It
Did you
was,
sing in the
well,
choirs?
yeah, yeah. I was a
Okay.
second tenor. I was not a very good singer, but I was more there just in case they needed a drummer for like accompaniment. Then I would just
Mm.
play the drums. But
Okay. So
yeah.
math, I mean, math and music usually go together. Like at least people, I would think that's
Oh,
the thing. Like you're a rhythm
de
guy.
definitely, but that's not the way they taught me math. So they very much didn't. They and this is like common with teachers in general. It's like teachers will just deliver information, but they won't necessarily show us why I need to, like, show me why I need it. And I think teaching is very much like sales. You have to sell the person on actually learning it, because especially now, information is really easy to get.
Right.
I can get it anywhere on demand. I can just call up Siri and just ask her to deliver me some information.
Mm-hmm.
So, but back then we didn't know that. But it was more about, I just didn't know why I needed it, so I didn't really care to study it. I only wanted to study and learn what I knew I needed.
Okay. So you and I connected around your grade 11 year
Um,
or grade 12? Was it going into grade 12?
going into grade 12, you called me, or you called someone. I was in Soyuz on holidays, and you called and said we want Jared to try out. And so I went home from my holidays, because I mean, you were like, you still are like, you're the man, dude.
So this is after. Do you remember the audition? We
Yeah,
had you
oh
like,
yeah, for sure.
so me and
You grilled me.
Rick Enns and Dan came up in the booth and just spotlight on the drum set, and you just had to play. So
Yeah,
this was the band. This was, I mean, you remember this, of course.
yeah.
Crazy, eh? I don't know if
Oh,
you've seen these pictures in a while. And oh, this was your first gig, I think. This is that outdoor. What do you
yeah.
remember about the?
I have a picture of that in my drum room. I should show it to you. It's
Love
different
to
than
see
that
it.
one. I don't know if you have it, but yeah, that's a cool picture. That was later on.
Yeah, that's the later era. I remember you always being a business mind, like these trucks. Do you remember
Yeah,
these trucks? You
yeah,
always had a different truck.
because I figured if I'm going to drive a depreciating asset, I
Yes.
want to flip it, and so I always wanted to be like, it was just something that I sold because I had to try and make a living to buy drums.
Hmm.
But that gig, I remember that gig. We walked on stage, and I just remember seeing a sea of people and being freaked out of my mind. And then I don't remember anything to do with the gig. It's all gone.
But you're 16 or something, right? And I
Yeah,
think yes, that's crazy. That was your
yeah.
first gig and probably like just the biggest stage to step
It was
onto.
insane, man. It was my dream. I felt like I was like, because I went to Doxa and I was just an attendee. I was just one of the kids going there, and I got into a little trouble sometimes at the event. You know, you guys had security everywhere, and but my
Right.
and
You're not the guy who jumped on stage and tried to grab the mic, are
no,
you? Okay, that was a different guy.
no, nothing serious. Just
Yeah,
going
yeah.
places where, but it was to go from that to then playing on stage. It was life. It was life changing, man.
So take us through like after that. So you, I mean, we played together for a number of years, and actually traveled a bit, but more local. Mexico was probably the furthest, and Banff and other things. But
Hmm.
your career kind of, there's that musical side of you. So you started playing and gigging and all that, whatever. Is that the right way to say that? I mean, and
Yeah.
then transformed into business, because you had an opportunity with your family business to do stuff, but you kind of made some moves there. Can you take us through
Hmm.
post Doxa into whatever came next?
Yeah. It was just always
Like you traveled.
my dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I travel all over the place. It was always my dream to do something with my life that I absolutely just loved, and because I didn't ever want it to feel like work, and I was really into like self-help books and stuff, and so I was really into that, like self-discovery and figuring out like what I actually want to do, what's going to make me like most happy, how do I want to spend my time. Work is a third of my life, so I figured I might as well do something that I enjoy. And so yeah, I went on tour. I went to Germany, I went to Estonia, Finland, Latvia, pretty much every state. My longest tour was 4 months. I did one 3-week tour with a trailer as a duo, just me and another guy, and we played high schools of like 1,000 people in gyms and stuff, and it was I was singing and everything along with it. Yeah, it was a crazy time, man. But so after that, I just didn't really like the road in general. Like it's really hard to be on the road and be away from family. And I had a girlfriend back then, and I wanted to see her more often. And I had my family, I wanted to see them. So I just really wanted to stay home. So I've had to find a way to stay home and still get to do what I love. But I came home and I worked on my family's farm, the duck farm, and I did that for probably 5 years. But while I was doing that, I was flipping vehicles and flipping drums, and then I met I was teaching drums, and I met who was my business partner, and then we started to upload videos in around 2003 or 2004.
Unbelievable. So you have this idea, like this is before a lot of people are thinking this, right? And
Well,
you guys
yeah.
start uploading stuff, and what happens next?
Yeah, well, in
And how old are
1990,
you then? How old are you then, Jared, when you started uploading?
21 or
Okay.
something. Yeah. So, but I was really into eBay before that. Like I remember 1999, I bought an ebook called 101 eBay Secrets, and I was trying to figure because that was the big marketplace then, and I really wanted to figure out how I could sell something to someone online that didn't exist in the physical world, but it still had value, right? And there's a lot of things like that. If you think about it, there's a lot of things that we don't like, we can't touch, but we still value a lot, especially nowadays more than ever, if you think about it. But back
Hmm.
then, the perception of value is very different. So we started selling digital products on eBay in 2003 and 2004, and then from there we had people like contact us and accuse us of scamming because they didn't even know what a download was or how to download a video. And so it was taking them multiple days. They had to leave their phone line tied up for multiple days.
Is this
So
dial-up? Is this dial-up?
yeah, I
Oh,
think some people
jeepers.
still dial. So we switched to DVDs in 2005, and I published my first DVD. Then I maxed out a credit card to duplicate it. It was like 3 or 4 grand. I made 1,000 of them, and then we listed it for sale. And I remember the first day of sales, I went and told my dad. I'm like, yeah, it's we did around $1,000 in sales, and we've been doing that every day. People really like this stuff. And he just like, I just see him thinking, he's like, that's a lot of money per month. He's like, you need to get accountant, you need to like formalize the business. And then that's kind of in 2005 is when it officially was incorporated. And now it's like 15 years later. And I've just been waiting for it to end the entire time because it's such a fantastic job. I still can't believe I get to do what I do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So when you so if we shift into just actual drums, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, before that, so you talked about family a little bit, and you're married,
Mm-hmm. 2 kids.
2 kids, and I see you post once in a while because I of course follow you
Thank
because
you.
I always say I want to work for you one day. That's my dream, right? So
You're hired
I
anytime.
just or just wear the hat. That's either. But the
Sure.
thing is, you sometimes you'll post not drums very intentionally, like
Yeah.
or something hashtag not drums or something like that. So your wife and kids are important to you. I know that you grew up with a very close family. So
Hmm.
this is a value of yours. Like, how do you balance that? And can you speak to that part of it?
Online, it's really tough, right? Because when people follow a page like mine, they're following it because of the value they get. And that's the way I have set it up. I don't expect people to follow me because I'm interesting or because I'm good looking. Because I mean, look at this.
I think
Okay.
I think you're good looking. Can I say that online? Right? I,
so
yeah.
so for me, it's like they follow me because I post and help them learn the drums, and I help them achieve whatever goal they have, play in a band, play their favorite songs, whatever. And so I always try and keep that in mind. And so when I do those posts, I say not drums because if they might just not be interested in it, and I'm fine with that. The people that are interested in learning more about the other side of my life, I love to share about. But it's always like a weird. It's really hard to balance because especially lately as my business has grown, we do piano lessons, guitar lessons. It's like I do a lot more than just drumming. I mean,
Mm,
I would say drumming is my hobby, and I love doing it, and I love the community online. They're like the greatest people, but when it comes to my day to day, you know, I wake up, I see my kids, my wife, I go and work, I have all my staff that I have to, you know, I interact with. It's like, and then I go home and I play drums. So it's like drumming is my hobby. The business side is what I do on a day to day,
Mm,
and no one really sees any of that. So it's hard to balance like what to post, or, and even then when I post something that's not drumming related, it doesn't, like, people don't seem to like it as much. So it, then I think about like, oh, people don't like me. They just like
right.
what I'm
They just
giving them
want you
to.
for what you, yeah. How do you
Yeah,
balance your life though with your wife and kids and that balance? Is that tricky or is it easier when you're in an online world?
yeah, it's tricky when I'm traveling more, but now it's
Mm.
like I can't go anywhere. But I think last year, or was it the year before? A couple years in a row, I traveled 100 days. So it was
Oh,
essentially 3 months. And I went to, like, one year I went to Switzerland. I filmed a documentary. I went to Germany. I went to Japan. I went all over. I went to the UK. And that was really tough when you're gone. But the way the business is set up for me is I set it up to be home for the most part. So I'm home at like 5 every day, and I hang out with the kids and see the family. But I don't have any secret. I get asked that question a lot in like
really?
all, yeah,
Mm,
and I'm just like, don't ask me, man, because I don't know. I don't have any secrets there. I just like just try and like communicate with Shanna and say,
hmm.
how's everything going? You know, and there was one time, only one time, and I've been married for 11 years now, something like
Oh
that.
boy.
Don't.
Jeez.
Can you cut that out?
I don't think I can, but
One time
I'll try.
she's like, one time she's like, you know, it's been a little bit too much. You need to. I'd
Mm,
prefer if you stay home more. And so then we just kind of set a limit on how much I'm allowed to travel,
mm.
which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah.
Traveling's hard on the body and time zone differences, but it's fun.
Okay, so drumming.
Yeah.
Like, what's your advice to a beginner? What would you say to a brand new drummer? You've heard me drum, so let's say it's me, because
Mhm.
you know, like, what do you say to a brand new drummer? I'm asking the professional here.
Well,
So,
what would I say to a brand new drummer? What I would do is I always try and get people playing something that they love as soon as possible.
mm,
So I scrap all like the learning proper technique, learning how to read sheet music, learning all the, you know, a lot of the traditional teachers will start with the fundamentals and be very rigid with that. For me, I say get to the point where you're playing music as soon as possible and kind of get hooked that way, because that's what's going to give you motivation to keep learning and getting better. But then at some point, you're going to have to circle back and start working on like proper grip, you know, set up your kit properly. You're going to have to learn some of the foundational things. And like anything, like Tiger Woods, I'm guessing you still practices his swing. Any
yeah.
any like professional hockey player, they still practice the fundamentals of stick handling, shooting, you know, wrist shot, slap shot. And drumming is the same way. There's the fundamentals that of theory and technique that you have to learn and constantly hone and get better at. It's not like you ever finish working on that. But just starting out, just play and have fun.
So
And
ignite
then
the passion first.
yes, look at you. That's very good.
Thank you.
I'm
Write
going
that
to
down.
use that.
Hashtag that. Good.
It'll be on Drumeo tomorrow. Ignite the passion with
Jared
drumming.
Falk says, ignite the passion. No, but that's, like for me, learning guitar, I picked up after high school. Like I played trumpet all the way through and sang and all that.
Really?
Did you know I played trumpet? Yeah,
Yeah,
Raz,
yeah, I
man.
think I did. Yeah.
Lead trumpet and Raz, man. Silver
Wow.
medal, Canadian Nationals.
Is that
Anyway,
is that where Misha gets? Is he using your trumpet?
he's playing my actual silver trumpet.
Really?
He's better
Oh,
than
that's
me
cool.
though. Yeah, but the thing is, like, I picked up guitar after high school, and it was just because I loved, like, I learned three chords and learned a song, and then I started writing,
Hmm.
right? So I loved it, and it wasn't because I'm a great guitar player. It was the passion, and then you kind of learn skills. So when I started teaching guitar, it was the same idea, and just to get songs going,
Yeah,
so that you don't hate it, like me scales, like.
yeah.
So what makes a great drummer, Jared? What makes a
Good,
really great drummer?
good time and good feel. That's pretty much it. You got to be able to play in time. If a drummer can't play in time, he sucks or she sucks.
Yeah,
And if when you play
agreed.
with them, it's just like, oh, it just feels weird. It's like, what's going on with this? It's not good. So I always tell people, make sure it feels, you have good time, it feels good, and it sounds good. Then worry about all the, like the sprinkles and the cherry on top, which are all the flashy fills and the, the other kind of fun stuff that a lot of people like to do first. But if you want to get a gig, you
Mm.
gotta play in time.
So playtime, what's good feel?
Feels like
Like,
like, do people enjoy listening to it? Do musicians love playing with you because it it grooves? Does it breathe, or it a lot has to do with like note spacing. If you look at it from like a technical point of view, meaning like, are your eighth notes are your eighth notes directly in time? Are the space between each one perfectly even? If
mm,
one of them is slightly off, it's gonna feel really weird if the distance between the notes is always changing.
uh, well, I
Yeah.
always, I always know the first time I play with a drummer, the first time you get to the chorus of the song,
Hmm.
you just know because they're going to speed up or they're going to overdo it
Yeah.
or okay. So what? Yeah.
I still remember the time you once like stopped the band. You're like, Jared, you're really speeding up in all of your fills, and that stuck with me.
Mm.
And so that's like a really good point.
Well, I just want to say this from the bottom of my heart. You're welcome. So, but it is a thing, hey? Like you gotta,
Yeah.
and this is what you teach guys. So, which
Hmm.
bands have you played with where you just love what you're doing? Like I've had those pockets of moment in my limited kind of, experience. But you played with so many bands, and
Hmm.
could you pick one where you're just like, this is just, oh, fun.
Yeah. Well. I mean, I obviously love playing with Doxa, but since that's your kind of, I can't say that, but it's cheating. But I also enjoyed my early days of playing. I played with like Dan Kim and Rick Entz, and
Mm,
they were also Doxa guys, but we would just jam and stuff. And some of the fun that we had just exploring music, and like we would jam on a riff for a while, and then we look at the clock and like, oh, that was 30 minutes, and we only played two chords and like one feel. But I find now that life is so much faster, I look back on that and I really like miss those times where I just felt like time wasn't an issue then. Like we were just able to just
hmm.
chill, have fun, relax, create music. So some of those days were really fun. I also played this
Creativity takes time, hey?
totally, and patience.
You need, yeah.
Yeah.
You saying, I remember I played, sorry, I
Oh
cut you
yeah, I
off.
played a guy from my high school named Aaron Rathjen. I don't know if you know Aaron Rathjen.
I recognize the name, yeah.
Yeah, he went to MEI as well as a guy named Chris D'Souza.
Yeah.
I did a project with them after high school. Um, it was some weird fusion music. I don't even know what it was called Polar Bear. It was bizarre. It was like this with the weirdest lyrics and everything, but they just wanted me to like do like random off time rolls. It was just really like exploratory, and that was a lot of fun. Uh, and then
Cool.
I played on this one guy's album. His name was Renee Thomas, and he's not playing anymore, but I did it out with Ryan McAllister at his studio, and it was when I listened back, it was like that was really, I must have like been really relaxed and chill when I did those parts, but it was fun.
Now you've played with, or you've watched famous drummers, eh? Like a
Hmm.
lot of famous
Hmm.
drummers. Because this is
Hmm.
something DRUMEO does. If you
Yeah.
people watching don't know this, like, so you've brought in some drummers. Like, who are some of the guys you've worked with? Just name a few, but just, or maybe the bands I'd recognize. I don't know the names
Yeah.
really.
Well, we had a guy named Bernard Purdy out, and Bernard Purdy played with like, he's one of the most recorded drummers in the world. So he played with Miles Davis, Celine Dion. Um, I think he played a little bit with the Beatles. At least that's what he says.
Wow.
In the early days, but he played with everyone. Then a lot of I always draw a blank when people ask this. A lot of the country acts like Rascal Flatts drummer Jim Riley. He's a really really good drummer and a good friend of ours. Um, we played with the drummer from Chicago, and Danny Serafini came out and played. We at our festival we had the drummer of Journey out, a guy named Steve Smith. Um, we had when Justin Timberlake was in town, his drummer came out, a guy named Brian Fraser Moore, and he's always fun to hang out with. Um, yeah, we've connected with a lot. Like I would say
That's crazy.
300. So
Wow.
yeah.
And I think right when we were rehearsing for the reunion event, one of them, Doc's
Hmm.
reunion, but you were bringing in Michael Jackson's drummer right around
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
So
Sugarfoot.
Sugarfoot's his name?
That's what Michael called him.
Okay, it's his stage name.
Because he has a sweet
Sugarfoot.
foot. A sweet
Yeah,
foot.
the kick.
Yeah.
So who could you sit and just watch? Like you're a drummer, right?
Uh-huh.
Are there guys that you could like men and women drummers? I know you bring both,
Yeah.
but that you could just sit there and watch all day. Like, is that a thing? Is there such a drummer out there?
Yeah. Yeah. So my favorite drummer is Carter Beauford. He plays for Dave Matthews Band. I could sit and watch him play all day.
Just him.
Yeah.
Just if he's just by himself doing stuff, you could just watch him.
Yeah. There's another guy named Steve Jordan. He plays with John Mayer and a few other notables, but he is not a chops guy, but he just plays really good time and feel. And it just, the thing about drumming is that you could play everyone could play, 100 drummers could play the same beat and they'll all sound different. And then there's another one of my favorite drummers, a guy named Benny Greb. He's from Germany. And again, he's just like phenomenal drummer. I could listen to him play for hours. And many will agree with me. I think there's lots of drummers watching here, and I think they'll agree with me.
So is there, you know, there's guys like, so this is for sure, like any band, you got the lead guitarist and he sits, you know, when you go into like a guitar shop or something and like, I'll pick up a guitar and I'm more of like the singer or I may write music or whatever it is. Like I'm not you know, and there's the guy that'll sit there beside you and he's just going nuts, right? And you feel like an idiot beside the guy. The thing is, you put him on your band and it's not necessarily a good thing.
No.
Right? So like, is that true of drummers that like, there's the guys that can be soloists and they can do you talked about the fills and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But they may not necessarily be a great band. Let's say they all have good time.
Mm-hmm.
So is the soloist necessarily a good drummer or vice versa? Or
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. And that's why a lot of the drummers that play with the most famous bands, they're not like in drums we call it chops. They're not blowing chops. Look at Charlie
Blowing chops.
Yeah, it's
like that's like blowing chunks. It's almost it's like a visual.
It's throwing up all over your drums. and it's really fun to do. It's really fun to do. But it doesn't impress people who don't play drums. It actually annoys them. And so, but like a guy like Charlie Watts plays with the Rolling Stones. He is a very simple drummer, and I think he's done pretty well. Larry Mullen Jr. plays for U2. Another guy, meat and potatoes drummer. That's what we call him. He doesn't play 30-second notes. I don't think he plays 16th note triplets. I think it's all just ticka 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 on every song. Ringo Starr, really simple drummer, but he created some unique parts with how he would kind of arrange the parts on the drums as well as how it related to the music. So the most famous drummers, the drummers that have made the most money, if that's what you want to measure them based on their success, they don't play crazy amounts of notes or crazy technical stuff. They're really at time, feel, and sound. And I guess the other thing is they're just really good people to hang out with. That's why other people want to play with them.
There's a lot to that, hey?
A lot. Yeah.
That applies to like, if I'm hiring someone to work with me in whatever role it is, like, are they enjoyable to be with? And you're saying that would apply to a band. Totally. I think you're saying that.
Yeah, totally.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
This is really fun. It's fun to hear the side of you because it's not like we talk about this, right? When we hang out or something. And
I want to ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay, give me one.
No, you keep going and I'll think of something.
Okay. You think of something. So I'm shifting over to you know, we've got kids graduating this year. You know, Misha's graduating this year.
Yeah, that's great.
So you saw him. You didn't see him being born, but like that was an era we were hanging out, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you give? So I've got 3 categories of advice. Let's see if we can funnel these. Like education, career, marriage, family. 11 years married, right? Your parents, how many years married? That's a tough question.
40, 35?
40 plus, yeah. 40,
Like
100, yeah,
100. I don't know.
100, yeah. Life advice. So education, career, what would you say to people graduating right now? And MEI guys are looking at you, guys and girls are looking at you and
Yeah.
thinking crazy, like in what, 20 years?
Yeah.
What are they going to be doing? What advice do you have? Education, career,
Oh,
a business, right? Because you're not
yeah.
the go to school guy necessarily after high school.
Yeah. And I can just like speak about shared experiences more. I'm not much of an advice person
Mm,
because I feel that's like it's very applicable just to me. And so I might as well just share about what my thoughts on what I've done and what has worked for me. I think like when my dad would look at where I was when I was like 15 or 16 and I said I want to play drums for a living, and then when I was 21 I said I want to do online video drum lessons as my job. I think he would have thought that's like ridiculous, and there's just no way. How could anyone make money doing that? And I wouldn't. I don't blame him for or anyone for thinking that. And so that's where I think a lot of the people that are older than us, although they can teach us a lot and have really great advice, sometimes we have to think differently because we are younger and we are looking at life in a different from a different lens and using tools in a different way. And a lot of people who are older than us will demonize those tools. Like parents are just like um, so controlling with their kids with screen time, and because though it's so terrible, it must be, but those are amazing tools that they could use to create the next big innovation. We don't know, right? So I just think
mm,
like you have to when you're convicted to go a certain direction, you have to go all in on that. And so I just went all in on my online lessons thing, regardless of what anyone told me. There's so many people who told me there's no way it's going to work. What happens when you run out of students? Are you sure you want to quit your job? Are you sure you want to take with this loan? Are you sure you want to rent this building? Like so many times along the way, people were saying like, "No, nah, it's probably not going to work. You shouldn't do it." And so I'd say you really have to like you have to take full responsibility, success or failure, but you have to be convicted in the direction that you want to go, and you have to go hard in that direction. You know, but so I don't know if that's like good advice or bad advice, but for me, it was just um, what what I did in my 20s when a lot of other people were like partying like crazy. Like I had fun and everything, but I worked my butt off just building my business, and I just worked really, really hard. I would work like 12 to 16 hours a day every single day, and so I think too many kids are looking for the quick fix and the get rich quick thing, and they're looking for shortcuts. They're not looking to actually work hard, and so I'd really just recommend like nothing good comes without hard work, and nothing if it's easy then everyone would be good at it. And so that's very simple advice, but I just think people need to be patient and be convicted in one direction, and then be willing to do that for an extended period of time. So
mm.
one of my favorite quotes is, "Success comes through disciplined execution over an extended period of time." So
Disciplined execution over an extended period of time. You don't give up.
yeah,
You keep.
yeah,
That's good.
yeah, every day.
Marriage, family. We've been
Yeah,
married 20, it'll be 21, Sarah and I, 21
wow,
years, right?
yeah,
And I'm willing to say this on live stream, like it's not easy. Like marriage is not easy.
yeah,
Family
yeah.
is not easy. It's a thing you work on all the time.
Hmm.
But what would you say to our grads, right? I mean, as far as I know, none of them are married, but there's the possibility of that, and family and parents, and what would you
Yeah.
say to them?
I would for marriage, the biggest thing that has been useful to me is just trying to become a better listener every day, and trying to ask the right questions. And I think successful people are really good at listening, and successful marriages are really each party is good at listening to the other and responding in a way that meets their needs. But um, and also just not being selfish. So really thinking
Mm,
about that other person and acting with empathy towards whatever situation they're dealing with. It's really hard for guys not to just want to fix things, right? I literally like have to sew my mouth shut when my wife is telling me something, and I just want to say, well, just do this and this. It's simple. But, you know, it's good to just listen. And that's sometimes all people need. So listen. That's true in music as well.
Good stuff. I think
Yeah.
you gave us life advice there. That was all life advice.
Yeah.
Do you have other life advice? I don't know why I have a third category, but that kind of is life advice, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Passion. Follow your passion. I love this because I think that's who I am. You would know it better than most if that's true or not. But I definitely think that of you.
Oh,
There's a
thank you.
passion that drives you and you go for it.
Yeah. At Musora, our three values are grit, empathy, and passion. You know,
Mm,
grit meaning, yeah, we are willing to put in the extra time. We are willing to get our hands dirty, even though it might be not be in our job description. You know, empathy, we look at that when we teach. Like, what's it like to be a beginner student? We need to always
mm,
remember that. What's it like to walk a mile in our students' shoes and feel what they feel? You know, their hands are hurting or their shoulders are sore. We need to actually think about that. And then passionate, if we're not passionate, we just will not do the job. So,
awesome. What
yeah.
would you say to me? And this is my last question, really. And then if you have a question, you can ask me if you have a good
Hmm.
one.
Yeah.
But to MEI, like you came out of MEI, we're a Christian school.
Hmm.
You've experienced. We've had. I remember driving to Kelowna and debating this and that about church and all kinds of stuff. And
Did we?
oh, sure, but it's always been like I don't know. I always thought of you as like a little brother, right? And
Hmm.
so that kind of relationship to me, at least. But what would you say, like advice to us, like trying to make MEI a great school today? Partly based on your experience. Any thoughts on
Yeah.
that? To me and the
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah. The biggest thing I would say is um, really focus on trying to make your students' strengths stronger and not being so uncomfortable if someone's weak at something and they don't have any desire to get better, or not being frustrated by it. I think all of us have different like brain programming and are geared in a little bit different way. And if we were all the same, if we were all good at English, or if we were all good at math or all good at science or whatever, it would be a really boring world. And so the fact that some kids are like I got an A in business and I didn't try. I didn't take notes, and I just got an A. I don't know why, and same with music, but I failed everything else. And but I got a really hard time about it when I was in school, and I remember feeling bad about it, and my teachers making me feel bad and saying things like, "Well, you're never going to get into college, or you're not going to be able to do this if you don't learn this." And it's like, and obviously we have to learn the basics of math and all this stuff, but I think approaching it in a way where you don't make the students feel bad, and I don't think you do. I think there's a reason the school is jammed, and you're setting an example and laying bricks that other schools are going to follow as a model, and I think you've done an amazing job there. So everything I hear is good.
Oh, thanks,
So,
man.
so I don't know if you need tons of advice from me, but
You're a teacher now, right? It's kind of cool if you think about
yeah,
it. You're
yeah.
totally
But
a teacher.
the difference between us is like people are coming into us because they want to, and that's a lot more adults learning, whereas
Mm,
people get sent to you, and a lot of
right.
times they don't want to be there, and that's more of a challenge from a teaching perspective. And so
Mm,
I empathize with the teachers in that way. But that's where I say, like, if a student maybe doesn't like something, don't get mad at them, make them feel bad. Just
mm,
know that they're really strong in some other way, and a lot of successful people fail in high school and fail in
right.
college. That doesn't mean you can't be
The
successful.
the the
Yeah,
Michael Jordan The Last Dance. Have you
yeah.
watching that?
I watched the first like part of the first episode, but I want to get back into it. Yeah.
Man, you're really blurry. I don't know what happened
Oh,
here.
really?
Am I blurry to you? Yeah.
No.
If anyone has questions, we'll pan the for Jared. We'll pan the thing here. Do you got a question for me? Did you actually come up with one, Jared?
um, well, I I would love to
Hmm.
know, like, what has been the biggest challenge of you coming into MEI and like take assuming that role. Like, what has been the hardest
Hmm.
thing for you? Because it's such a huge school, and like, how many teachers are you responsible for, and how many students are you responsible for? It's like a lot of pressure, but
Hmm.
you don't ever seem to be like super stressed. So, what's been the biggest challenge?
Well, I like what you said before, because I would answer that with a similar thing. Like, and you know me, like it's about God's calling on my life. And
Yeah.
this thing fits my passion. Like, I've done ministry, church
Yeah.
ministry work, and then and the voluntary doxa stuff, but I'm a teacher, and this has meshed those together in a way that it's kind of like it's a fit that only God could have orchestrated to come back to our school. Like, it's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, there's so many challenges. Like, it's the largest independent school in BC. So there's the HR pieces, which you also understand that world, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's all these different things that happen, but I think the reason I'm not stressed or don't appear to be is it's a good fit. And I'm working with great people, like the teams that, are in place.
Mm-hmm.
And again, walking into your business, I get that same feel. Like, you're building a team around a certain kind of a vibe, and you're loving it. I'm loving
Mm-hmm.
it.
So
Yeah.
so then how do you build culture?
How do you build culture?
Yeah.
So to me, a good culture is going to be, it's so critical that you know what your purpose is. So if you know what your purpose is, what are the values that will help achieve that purpose? So when I meet with my leadership team, in August every year, we go to a camp and spend a day, and we've actually established what our values are. Like, it was a brainstorming session, and once we've got that, then we establish what okay, if that's what's important to us as a team, we all agree, we all sign on to this, spend a few hours figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
These are our operating principles. So for example, you make a decision as a team, you walk out of the room and you support the decision. Sounds obvious, but I could talk about that for 15 minutes on how that gets screwed up, right? So, so these are the values. These are the operating principles. They're on a thing with our team picture, and it's on everybody's desk. Now that guides my leadership team. And over time, if you can build integrity with the people that you're leading,
Mm-hmm.
again, I need God's help to do that. But if you're consistent and you're honest and you don't cut corners, and it's not like one-offs. We move away from one-offs. Like, there's not like, if you register your kids next year, it's, people think, well, hey, I know VJ, I'll get in. Actually, that's not how it works. We have a system, and so you've got to stick to it, and there's integrity then. So culture is that's a whole other interview, man. We could do a whole separate thing and ask each other questions about that. I don't know, how am I doing?
You're doing good.
Okay, let's see if someone, we got some questions here. So, sir, what is MEI Schools? It's a great school. Jared and I both graduated from.
Yeah.
Just want to be a drummer. Sarah's referenced that some of those trips to Kelowna were the longest of her life.
Oh, no.
Man, I really appreciate you coming on, Jared. This is just super fun.
Yeah, man, it's been good. I watched the one you did with totally drawing a blank, but the sports guy.
Dan Murphy.
Dan Murphy was really interesting. And then I watched the one you did with Brian Dirksen. And it's really cool to how you're connecting with all the past alumni, and especially you're getting a diverse group of people, right? And I think that's just like, it's just really interesting, especially because I went to the school, and so it's a good idea. Kudos.
Right on.
Yeah.
Tons of respect for you, man. Love you.
Likewise.
God bless you, your business, your family.
You as well.
Yeah? All right, man. Till the next time.
Okay,
see ya.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.